Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And thank you for being here. It's always, some days I wake up and I'm just really excited to do this. And today is one of those days. So today we are going to look at a question that showed up actually in yesterday's reading, but it's also one that showed up in some of the emails and notes that I've received. So you guys, most of you know that you are able to send me notes either via email or via one of the social media options, and I get a lot of them. I don't have the opportunity to write back for the vast majority of them. However, I read everyone, and that's where a lot of our questions come from. So here's a question that's been asked in a couple of different forms, and we thought yesterday as the reading was progressing, it came up again. And so this was the two of you are very much connected. You're very much linked, you're connected, and we know that when one of you learns something, when one of you makes some progress, it benefits the other and vice versa. So what do you do if you're not seeing a lot of progress from your person? If they're not making progress on their lessons, what is it that you can do about it? So that's kind of what we're going to look at today. And of course, it's a general reading. And so it's a general reading for, but it's for this collective. So if you find that it is connecting with you, because it's not going to connect with everybody, and everybody's not going to resonate with it, which makes perfect sense. Really shouldn't. But if it does resonate with you, you may want to take a look at some of the other readings because of how just connected all of the readings are together. So let's go ahead and jump in. Again, we're looking at what happens with their lessons and what happens if they're not learning them, if they're not moving through them very quickly. What can you do about that? So the first thing that we're going to look at is that energetic and emotional backdrop. It's always a good place to start because it gives us some idea of kind of what's the context in which to take all the rest of this. It's like the weather for the day, the energetic weather for the day. So we've got this Eight of Swords, a little bit of a continuation of the energy from yesterday. So if you guys were here for yesterday's reading, it was a frustrating sort of energy. Here it's frustrating, but it's a little bit like there's been a lot of thrashing and you're starting to get tired from the thrashing and the frustration. So it's still frustration, but it's not quite as angry and active. It's more of a now what do I do? So yesterday's reading was a third party oriented reading, and it was really very much about, well, what do you do in this situation where there's a lot of push and pull, and it's kind of got that sense still, but they haven't come up with a good solution for it. This is pretty much, it's very strong in their energy, but you're going to be feeling it too, particularly based on the linkage between the two of you. So we're all connected. All the people are connected, not just within this collective, but across the world. The people across the world, their successes are your successes. Their pain is your pain. But here's an example of a person that you're so connected with that you can tell. So it's something where it makes a lot of sense to take a look at, well, what happens if they don't make a bunch of progress on their healing? And on a day like today, where there's maybe a little bit of frustration in the energy, but feels like there's an impasse within the self. I'm not even sure which way to go. Feeling like your hands are tied, like you're your own worst enemy, but you're not sure where to start with it. That's kind of what is coming from this Eight of Swords. So it's kind of an interesting continuation of what we were seeing yesterday. So we've got the Three of Cups, still a heavy influence from that third party energy, and that's part of what's bringing them down. They haven't been able to figure out what's happening, but there is, and there may be a little bit of this third party energy. Remember yesterday, and I'm referring to yesterday a lot, might be worth checking that one out, but it's there was the energy itself, which was almost functioning as enough of a separate, impactful energy to make a third party energy out of itself. So a lot of them, it's people, it's work, it's an environment, it's someone in their family, someone in their friend group or social group that is creating something that causes strife. It's something that was causing or teaching your person a lot of lessons, and they're going to emerge victorious from that. But in some cases, like we saw yesterday, they may be feeling done with that third party energy, but it's not done with them. Similarly, with this energy that you guys are experiencing, that frustration just under the surface energy, it may be one of those things that it's when I see this third or the three of cups and it comes across as third party energy, it almost partially comes across as yes. And this third party energy for you is the emotion of the energy of the day. This frustration, this there are so many beautiful things that came out in yesterday's reading, but the undertone was, oh, I'm frustrated, you know. But the good news is there's a lot of self-trust. There's self-trust and this tendency not to throw good energy after bad. This is something that's mutual. So it feels like there's a lot of hope in this. Even though this is a frustrating energy and it's an I'm not sure where to go next kind of energy, there's also this feeling of yes, but what I do have is a little trust for myself. I have a little bit of awareness and an ability to see some things that maybe they couldn't be seen before, not easily. And this tendency, this Five of Swords, because we've got the Seven of Swords in reverse with the self-trust and the Five of Swords in reverse for not throwing good energy after bad. This is all about not feeling the need to win at any cost when it doesn't make any sense, you know, because there's a lot of times that's not a super fruitful emotion or way to go. There's also a lot of healing in this energy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's been enough progress to make things all good. We've got the moon card. Okay, this is reminding me of another question that you guys have asked. A couple of you have asked it, and maybe it's tomorrow's reading, because I'm starting to see the questions swirl together, and that helps me determine the order in which to answer them. But one of the questions that came back was, hey, I'm in touch with my person. There's vulnerability in this energy. How do I deal with it? Similarly, another person asked, I've not yet been back in touch with my person, and yet I can feel that vulnerability in their energy. What do I do? It's basically the same question regardless of how much contact you've had with this person, but this card pulls all of that out. So this card, the moon in reverse, is all about the way things have changed lately. In recent weeks, we've seen a lot of people coming back to have conversations, people almost hitting send. They've dialed the number, but they haven't hit send. They've written the text, but they haven't hit send. And what it's really done, and this is what's super relevant to today's reading, it's shined a little bit of light on where everyone is with their healing. So we see some healing happening here. This Five of Pentacles in reverse is indicative of the healing that has happened within this portion of the cycle. So since you met this person, since they met you, both of you have been working on healing from what I like to call the big three. So that fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal. There's progress here. And the moon card in reverse is seeing what that progress looks like. Well, how much is there? How far have I come? You know, and that's where the vulnerability starts to come in, because that's part of the measure of how you can tell what kind of progress a person has had. So right off the bat, we're seeing that there is some healing that has taken place. It is not complete, which makes perfect sense. We've seen time and time again, if your person is coming to you, they're not doing so in a healed fashion. So a lot of times when they get there, they're not even sure what to do when they arrive. And a lot of them aren't quite making it all the way there. And we've got this Temperance card in reverse, which it doesn't want to be part of the reading, but I'm going to go ahead and call it an honorable mention because of how much it fits. There is this desire to get balance, this desire to create a balance, a new balance, and to even maybe redefine balance. But it's just being very difficult. It's like trying to get up onto something, but everything's very slippery, so you just keep falling. It's that kind of inability to find balance that's coming with that energy. But so we asked the question, what happens if your person is not doing the healing, and how are you going to manage that? That is kind of more, we're going to see where they are with their healing when we get here, and then over here we're going to ask about what is it that you can be doing to make things better. But right away over here, we see there has been some healing, there has been some change, but there's also this sense of hands being tied, progress being difficult. Let's see what else wants to come out for you in that main energy, because this is very telling. Glad we asked this question. Do we have that? No, we don't. I thought maybe that Temperance card was back out again. It was very colorful. But we have the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Pentacles in reverse. This is, okay, so the only way I can think to describe this is sometimes when the two of you are coming back closer to one another, there's this sense of working closely together that almost spans into the 3D, almost spans into that physical realm, whether you're in communication or not. What we see here is, regardless of the fact that their energy is still very close to you, has been since late April, when things really started to shift for people in this collective. Even with that, what we're seeing here is a tendency to stay away in that physical 3D realm. So even if they're in communication, there's something that's a hold back sort of energy that happens there in the 3D. And so we've also got the Ten of Swords. Yep, painful ending. This is kind of what's creating that energy of the need to pull back. It's the memory of pain. It's not necessarily memory of an ending with you specifically, or between you specifically. This could be on either of your sides, memory of a different pain that has happened. So that is, it's a desire to not be vulnerable, or almost to intentionally remove the vulnerability, because we saw for a little while there that your people were coming in, your person was coming in feeling less vulnerable. They were coming to you and almost seeming human, which, or seeming a lot more human, I guess I want to say, because it's not like they were ever not human, but it's, they were seeming a little bit more like real people that you could understand and be able to relate to. And then we kind of saw that falling away again. There are a lot of cycles that come and go, and sometimes when you get that really vulnerable piece of the cycle, it's easy to catch and start to make some progress as a union. Other times not so much, and especially with the energy that everyone is surrounded with now, there is healing, but there's also this frustration about how long it's taking, and in some cases healing is happening but you're not having communication. So it's kind of also difficult to see where that healing is. So let's take a look at this and just kind of understand, like, where is this person with healing? Okay. Yep, we want both of these. So we've got the King of Cups and the Judgment. Oh, more cards that we've seen a lot of in the last 24 hours. So I've seen these in not just the reading that I did yesterday, where the Judgment card came out for them in the YouTube reading, and it came out again in the extended, meaning very similar things, but it also started showing up in personal reading. So if I've done a personal reading for you in the last 24 hours, you've probably seen this card. So we've got the Judgment card and the King of Cups in reverse. The Judgment is about them, and it's what it has been. It's about them looking at the situation and seeing some truths and realities that for whatever reason they're able to kind of sit there and see. They're able to watch. They're able to observe it, even if it still feels pretty uncomfortable. And the King of Cups is evidence of that discomfort. So the King of Cups, as we've seen, carries that cup, the Ace of Cups, but does not have the capacity, has limits to how much emotion and love can really flow here. With the King of Cups in reverse, we see that they've kind of gotten to that limit. And it's interesting because it's really about being able to make sure that they're ensuring a certain type of, they need to look a certain way. They need to be coming across a certain way. And so it's a little bit egoistic in the way that this manifests, but there's something that they don't want to show about the way that they feel about you. And so it's interesting, especially because I'm feeling that strong connection to this Three of Cups over here, and just feeling like, I know this isn't the third party reading, but I feel like it's super relevant to this third party, and that's part of why they don't want the extent of the emotion to show. And this is so strong, I'm just going to set it on top, because I think a lot of the what we're seeing here is going to be tempered by messages around this third party. So that's part of what is causing them to come across the way that they're coming across, but it's also part of what's helping them to see the real picture and some truths that in the past have, remember at the beginning of this year, if you've been watching for a little while, beginning of this year, we saw the Ace of Swords coming out over and over and over. And it was all about here's this truth, not necessarily a new truth, but something that your person's being exposed to, but they haven't figured out how to bring it into their lives. So I dropped a card, but it fell face down. Here, they're kind of working through figuring out how to get that truth into their lives. That's kind of what you're seeing here. All right. We just want this one, and then whatever's on top here. That's where we're going to start. Oh, we got the Hermit in reverse and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Knight of Pentacles in reverse says your person is not being super consistent about their learning. So it's very 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. 1 step forward, 1 step back. You know, it's very inconsistent. So I would say they're not steadily moving forward. They are moving forward overall. If you were to really back up and look at the big picture. So when you come in really close and you look at like the course of a week, you may even see setback or backward progress. But if you span out or you pan out to look at the course of a year, you'll see a whole bunch of ups and downs, but ultimately you're ending at a slightly like a higher place at the end of the year than you did at the beginning of the year. So it's very slow progress, but it looks like a whole bunch of stopping and starting and a lot of going backwards and sideways and things like that. And then with the Hermit card in reverse, what we see is them not necessarily pursuing it. So this may be where a little bit of your frustration is coming from. If you're one of the people who's written in to say, this person is linked to me. If they're not learning their lessons, how am I going to get through this? You're right that they don't seem to be learning the lessons very quickly. Now, over here, we see evidence of some lessons having been learned. Some of that's you. Some of that is them. We know that lessons being learned on either side benefits the whole union. But we also know that sometimes that can seem really slow. Here's confirmation for you that it is really slow. And here's an indication that it's somewhat related to them trying to make progress regardless of what's happening with the third party. So I have the King of Wands there, and I'm feeling it, but I don't feel it as part of the reading. If it wants to come back out, it will. But there's a desire for them to, it's just reiterating what this King of Cups in reverse is all about, wanting to have some control over the narrative and just kind of how things look, making sure that they're coming out in a way that makes them look the way that they need to look. But there's change happening. So it's easy to look at them. And if you look at like the space of a week or the space of a month, you might see a lot of setbacks. You might see them kind of sitting still. You might see them kind of going sideways and not necessarily forward. But there's definite change happening here. When we look at this death card, something is ending. We know that it is also everything here. I'm just going to move this 3 of Cups into a little bit different of a position because I want to make sure that it is front and center for most of these messages because it's completely relevant. So this change is happening with regard to this third party energy. It's them, the biggest part of the change is them really getting their mind wrapped around, I'm done with this, regardless of the fact that it may not be done with them now or in the near future. The change is within them. But it's a change that needed to happen. Feels like after that progresses, you're going to see a lot more change with them for a little while, but I can't promise it's going to be in the direction of all the healing. Okay, so now we see the King of Wands. So the King of Wands is still about them. It feels the same as that King of Cups in reverse, just like it did before. It's very much about them wanting to make sure that they're controlling the situation, controlling the narrative, looking a certain way, coming across a certain way, particularly as it relates to that third party or information that might get back to that third party. So if you work together and they will be politically hurt by being closer with you, then they want to make sure that at work they look like you're not communicating. Or that's just obviously an example. Some people, it's a spouse, or it's somebody in their life that's a friend, a mutual friend in some cases. Just want to make sure that it doesn't appear that they're any closer. But we've got the Prince of Wands here, which is kind of working against them. This is another one of those cards that just keeps coming up. It came up a lot yesterday, and I think it came up in at least a couple of the personal readings. But the Prince of Wands is fascinating because it represents that constant drive for them to move. It's got a Queen of Wands feeling to it, which is why it's so special to me in the way that it keeps coming up over the last 24 hours. But it's got just this passionate drive. There's a lot of passion, a lot of attraction, a lot of driving forward, but it's driving forward toward you. You are what is causing them to learn these lessons. You're the carrot at the end of the stick. So that's for those of you who are being frustrated that your person is moving so slowly, just realize that it's your progress that is lighting the way for them. Just like we've often implied and thought, that's what's happening. So now we have the Death card and the Tower card coming out for them in change, and their lessons. If that isn't an indication of significant change and things changing into something new, then I don't know a better way to communicate that. The Death card has new, it has that Phoenix concept. It's a cycle. It's a cycle of death and rebirth. There is something new and transformation that comes from this, from the change. But the Tower is a little bit more disruptive, the way that it feels. So the Tower is everything coming down for them. This is a change that you might not be feeling as much of, but it's really kind of slowing them down. It's causing them to have to keep their finger on that narrative. It's causing them to make that super slow progress, because it's very disruptive to their way of life. And we know that your person has been working through learning some new values. And here I can tell you, it is not aligned with the value system that brought them to this third party situation. So it's a little bit different, and it's a lot more, there are significant and very far-reaching repercussions to the changes that are happening with them, which is why it seems like they're not moving very quickly. I love the King of Pentacles. I wish it was part of the reading right here, but it's not. It's not feeling. When the cards come out and they don't feel like they're part of the reading, I'm like, oh, I wish it was. Oh, it's dead to me, but it's not like it's dead to me. But it just doesn't have any. It doesn't have the energy associated with it, so it doesn't have what I like to call the glow of being part of the reading. So we've got that Six of Swords that we wanted to see yesterday. I get it. It's got this kind of sideways energy, though. So the Six of Swords in the upright is being moved or being born into calmer waters from more tumultuous waters. So there is more of an opportunity to reflect, take a little bit of time, maybe start some healing, understand a little bit more about where you're coming from, just the energy slowing down a little bit. And it was something that it felt like we needed. In the reverse, that feels a little bit like something that just can't happen, like things refuse to slow down. They are unable to get to that place. But sideways, it's got this feeling of them not even, they don't want it to slow down exactly, because it would, if I'm honest, if it slows down to a certain point, then it's going to hide the balance they're trying to strike. They're okay with the energy being a little bit crazy, even if it means that there are things that they're not learning, or they're not learning very quickly. So they are very resistant to some of the change that's happening. Now, yesterday we saw the Hierophant come out in reverse, and it was talking about them not availing themselves of some of the spiritual guidance that is out there. Here, I would say the spiritual guidance continues to be there. They have a limited ability to avail themselves of it. So it's about getting connected with their higher self and their higher power, more their higher power than anything else. But their ability to get connected with that is limited enough that even with it being here, it's part of the stop-start. I'm not quite learning things. However, with this Tower card, they would do well to familiarize themselves with this energy. All right, and let's see. We've got the Eight of Swords in reverse. Okay, so I really like the way this feels. I just wish it was anti this Eight of Swords. So this Eight of Swords over here has them kind of not being able to get not being able to get past some of the frustration and the fact that they feel like their hands are tied. Here, though, it's like the realization that the only way out is forward, and that anything else is not doing right by themselves. Okay, so there's this knowledge of that. It's like this is part of the truth that they have to somehow figure out how to bring into their lives. But I will tell you, knowing this is not necessarily all. Like, they need to be able to do it, but it is way harder for them than it sounds when I say it. Because I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. Just take this truth in, and you understand there's happiness on the other side. You know, they may know that, but they can't quite get to it. It's still a lot of fear holding them back. Still a lot of comfort that is associated with the stability of this third party. That matters. That really matters, because you're talking about somebody basically upending the values in their life and changing some very significant things about them. And yet it's happening. This is something that was set into motion before you even came into the picture. In fact, it's a change they were trying to sweep under the rug for themselves when you appeared. Let's look at what you can do about it, because we're gonna when we get into the extended, we're gonna get in a little bit more deeply with what their lessons are, I think, because right now we see where they are with their lessons, but we haven't looked in as much deeply with where they are, like what their lessons actually are. And let's get their emotional feel for it too, because I think that's available more now than it has been historically. There is a little bit less of there's a little bit less of like a disconnect between them and their emotions. So we'll try and get into that and ask some questions about that when we get into the extended. But first, let's get into what you can be doing, because that was kind of the question. If your person's not moving forward quickly in their lessons, and we confirmed that yes, they're moving forward, but no, they're not moving forward quickly, what do you do about it? So that's what we're going to ask here. What is your area of focus? What do you do when your person is not moving forward quickly? Okay, so I knew what the message was before I saw what the card was, and I was trying to figure out how it was going to say it, and it's like the weirdest way. So the Three of Swords, oh, I think we need another one. The Three of Swords in reverse is about setting your own self free, not allowing yourself to be limited by the level of learning that your person has done. So they may not have made it all the way through this learning, but you're just going to free yourself and allow yourself to continue moving, which makes sense now that we know that you're kind of the guiding light for them. You're what's helping them to maintain the energy to be able to move forward. Things are not okay. You have something that you need to work on that you were well, okay. You know how a little bit ago I said that they were working on some things with their own values when you came into the picture? They were trying to kind of sweep that under the rug, and then you came in and made them have to reevaluate that. So now they've got some change that's happening. It's slowly happening. It's stopping and starting. You should probably be able to recognize that feeling, because this card tells me the same thing is happening with you to a certain degree. So you have some things that that you have been working on since before they came along. It's not exactly the same, but you've been working on these things since before they came along. This is your big opportunity to make progress there. In this current energy, I see a Five of Pentacles in reverse that is very much shared energy, and that tells me you're already seeing some of the progress. This Moon card in reverse refers to some of that vulnerability that you've been feeling from them, even if you haven't been seeing it. And some of you have been seeing it, and it's confusing, but it helps to elucidate the edges of your healing. So here's where you use it. This person has created a triggering for you that allowed you to catch something by the tail that might otherwise have been particularly difficult to find the healing in. And so this is where you get to recognize that they're very much working through it. They've got some hangups around this third party and the situation there, but this is like you are clean and clear to move forward without allowing them to their lack of healing to hold you back, which is good because you are being the one in the lead right now. Now in other lifetimes maybe they're the one in the lead, but and maybe later in this lifetime or earlier in this lifetime or whatever, they will be the guiding light. But right now you're the one walking point, you're the one in front lighting the way. And this is basically just saying keep going, keep on learning. No one joined this, started watching this. You can't exactly join the collective because you can't self-select into or out of it. It's like it's happening to you or it's not. But you, no one is part of this collective because they, you know, just felt like having this difficult situation. This is, however, an opportunity for you to solve some things that you've been working on for a long time. This is the chance for you to really jump in. It's like your own Six of Swords in the upright, allowing you to have a little bit of space to move forward. And so here's the other thing I will say. Earlier on, I mentioned that we're all very much connected. People on the other side of the world, their pain is your pain. Their success is your success, and vice versa. You are doing not just your part with this person by being the truth seeking type of person that comes to this, that is part of this collective. You're doing your part to make the world a better place. Not to put too much pressure on you, but you know, when you think about it that way, it's like, well, you're not just helping them, you're helping yourself, you're helping everybody. And there is so much opportunity for you here. Not to say, gosh, you're way behind the curve and there's a lot that you just have so much to learn. We all have so much to learn, but you've just gotten the world in reverse to talk about the world in reverse. This is, first off, one of the most powerful cards in the tarot. It's the end of the cycle, and it's saying that you're not, there's something that's not passing judgment, not over yet, still very much being worked on by you. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or painful or horrible or anything like that, but it is not over yet. And you are very much still holding that flame and being the front runner. You are, this is, it feels like a lot of responsibility. It feels like I'm heaping a lot of responsibility on you. But the thing is, you were going to do it anyway. You were going to already, you're the sort of person, just by identifying yourself as part of this collective and saying, yeah, okay, this is the situation I'm in. Like, think about this for a second. Do you realize how much it takes to even be able to admit all of that to yourself? I know I do the thank you readings once a month, and I tell you how amazing you are, but I think sometimes it bears a little bit more mentioning. You are being the light to a lot of people in the world right now, whether you realize it or feel like it or not. But so we've got the world here in reverse. We also have the Two of Cups in here in reverse. And that kind of makes me feel like maybe you're not exactly feeling how much benefit you're creating in the overall world, which is fair because I don't know how you would really get that perspective truly. But it kind of reminds me of, again, some of what's come up in the personal readings, but what we saw in August, like for the month of August, and we saw it reiterated a little bit here recently with the refresh readings, but you are making this look better than it feels. Okay, it doesn't look as bad to other people as it feels to you. So you are a little bit more able to be that guiding light. But with this Two of Cups, it's kind of it's kind of like you not realizing the guiding light that you are. That's kind of what is coming out with that. It's about partnership and emotion and being able to move emotion back and forth. But here, it really what wants to come out, the bottom line is about you not being able to realize how much of a guiding light you are. So we've got the Emperor in the upright, and we've got the Ten of Pentacles in the reverse. One of the things that we've seen a lot of is kind of this need for a balancing of the masculine energy. But with the Emperor card here, I'm kind of seeing that there's more of a balance happening within that masculine energy than you may be giving yourself credit for. There's a lot of energy here of you maybe not giving yourself credit for as much of the progress as you're making. And for those of you who realize you're making progress, look again, it may be more than you realize. And I'm not just trying to puff up your ego. I honestly don't know that I could if I tried. Um, but it's because we get in and we talk about some really serious things here, and everybody's feeling a little wrung out by the end of it sometimes. And I tell you the truth as it comes out. And sometimes that's a harsh truth. But what you're doing is like you're deeply open to it. That deep openness is significant. You would look at other people in this collective and not judge them. It's got that sort of feel to it, despite the fact that your own stuff is falling apart. It's like you're able to see, um, you have this foundation of clarity, and I'm not even choosing my words carefully. It's like they're coming to me. I'm like, okay, I need the exact right word, and it just appears. But you have this foundation of clarity, and that's what you're using to shine your light. Continue shining your light. That is what the answer is to this question that we're asking. So my person isn't progressing as quickly as I'd like. What do I do? Keep walking in the lead, keep shining your light. Oh, and by the way, you're helping a lot more than just you and that person. Okay. Oh, this is that Nine of Cups. So one of the lessons this is like a benefit for you. One of the lessons that is another one that both of you share, you and your person share the lesson of needing to figure out what it is that truly makes you happy. But this is kind of a gimme because everybody shares this lesson. And what I mean by that is it changes over time. So it's constantly, you have to be making a little bit of an adjustment to say, okay, what does happiness look like for me today? What does it look like now? Because your person made the mistake of pursuing something with this third party energy that they thought they wanted. It's maybe what they were told all their lives was what they needed, but it changes constantly, and they did not bring in that change as it happens. So they end up with something that feels stale, that they're done with, that they can't really necessarily get out from under, but they now recognize is not making them happy. Okay, it's not making them happy, and they're able to identify that, but they have to go on a little bit of a quest to figure out what's going to make them happy. So that's where you end up with these things like, what you hear about with the midlife crisis is they've gotten so disconnected with what's happiness, what is constituting that wish fulfillment for them, that they have to make a huge adjustment. You are in a little bit different of a place, except the spiritual awakening is really is your version of learning that. So you shining that light is moving you closer to that happiness and what's truly going to bring you what you want here. So we've got the Knight of Cups. All right. A couple of you have been asking the question about whether you should reach out. This is saying to go ahead and keep carrying the light, but do it quietly. If you're not in communication, do not initiate communication. That's kind of what that card is telling us. So if you've been wondering that, particularly in today's energy, and this doesn't feel like just today's energy, but as it relates to reaching out and communicating, you're not being encouraged to do so. However, you are being encouraged to absolutely, it's like, treat yourself in go out into nature. What is it that makes you happy and helps to move you toward understanding your wish fulfillment? It's not necessarily what is it that you most want, it's what moves you toward that. Is it something that is very healthy for you, something that makes you feel better after you do it? It could be exercise, it could be being out in nature, it could be figure it out and go that direction. With the Prince of Swords, and I say figure it out because there's a huge intellectual element to this, because it's swords and air energy. And so it's about how do you use that logical side of yourself to most benefit yourself, and then lead yourself into a place where that emotion can really flourish. So there's a purpose for having that logical side active, even if it doesn't allow, if you can't allow yourself to get too far up in your head, which is kind of the energy of today anyway. Then we've got the Queen of Cups, which is you being led by love, that's a big part of it, but it's also an easy thing. And I got to stop pulling cards because it was like, okay, set that down. But with the Queen of Cups, this is very much about you being led by love, guided by love, inclined to move in a loving direction. That's going to be the light that you are shining that kind of helps everyone follow. So it feels like there's a lot of responsibility on you. I want to look a little bit more deeply into that because when I first look at it, I'm like, well, I mean, way to heap responsibility on somebody who's asking a question about how to feel better, right? But by the same token, it's like, no, keep pushing, keep going. You're helping yourself, you're helping your person, you're helping other people. You might not even realize how much. Also, I get the sense here, and I know I've said this one recently, this is the darkest before the dawn. You're about to turn a corner. So we'll look into this a little bit more in the extended, but we're also going to look into what the lessons are that your person's actually learning and how they feel about it. Because we see that there's good progress here, but we also see that it's slow and it's very much wrapped up in this third party energy. So, with that, we'll go ahead and go into the extended. The link is down below if you'd like to follow me there. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's reading.